Today, the Spartans will fight for the whole of Greece against their mortal enemies, the Athenians, who will come out on top in this Peloponnesian clash. Well, hopefully, it will be a glorious battle, and it won't matter who comes out on top because we would have had our fill of bloodshed and glory in this Total War Rome 2 Divide Et Impera online battle. I want to go ahead and give a massive shout out to KWZ for sending this one in to me once again, and a big shout out to all the players in this engagement as well. If you guys don't know, these were practice matches from leading up to the Colosseum tournament over on the Colosseum DEI tournament page. I'll link the Discord down below in the description. It starts this weekend, so if you want to go ahead and check out some awesome DEI combat, then make sure you go ahead and join that Discord down below in the description. And also, they'll be keeping you guys up to date with winners, losers of the entire tournament. The tournament has over 16 different cultures, and I believe 3 people per culture, so big teams, lots of different factions, all going head to head. And as I said, they'll be covering it all over on their Discord, so make sure you join that bad boy. In today's battle though, we do have the Athenians, as I said, going up against the Spartans. However, the Athenian player is just one person and the Spartan are 2 people. It's a nice kind of way to do it when you are playing in a big engagement, when you've got kind of 3 people and you obviously can't do free-for-alls because, you know, creative assembly and all. So this is a nice way to do it. So basically, the Athenians have 40 units and they had 60,000 gold. The Spartans can only bring 20 units and can only have 30,000 gold. So obviously, the Spartans have the ability to, I guess, better micromanage their army, and it's going to be up to the Athenians to really hold them back, and hopefully they can do that. On the far left-hand side, we do have some of the thorax infantry, heavy infantry, able just to support and hold the line very efficiently. Obviously, the perfect boys you want on either flank. Then, as we go through the center, we do have some of the heavy thorax swords. These are mercenaries, apparently, so hopefully they'll be able to hold their own and make their money's worth. Then, in the front line, we do have a quick stack of Athenian elite hoplites. Some of my favorite looking hoplite units in the entire game. I love the blue cape. They look absolutely amazing. And that's going to kind of basically be the main front line for the Athenians. I have noticed a lot of people do this in DEI, is that they go ahead and just stack the front line with as many kind of sturdy units as possible, and then really try and play around the flanks. Then we have some more mercenary swords supported by some heavy spears, and then obviously the cavalry contingent over on this side. We're going to have the Athenian elite cavalry, the Hypasus, these guys, able to do a lot of damage in heavy prolonged melee engagement, and also on the charge as well. Missile, I'll go on slow-mo as well, as the Spartans are getting a little closer. On the missile line, we do just have Peltis, so not really going for any of that long-range missile fighting, which is interesting. I don't see many people bring Cretan archers, Rhodian slingers. They kind of go for much more of the melee engagement, and it's always kind of surprising to me, because I personally think they're really useful. As we go further back as well, we have elite Furios spears, so this is obviously going to be kind of like the rear guard, and then we also have some mercenary lancers back here as well. So a very nice Athenian force. Now for the 2 Spartan armies, we have one over here on the front line. We're going to have a lot of these light spears. Again, I think it's going to be a very good idea to just try and use numbers to overrun their opponents, because there's 2 of them micromanaging. I think they definitely can out micro the Athenian player. Then we have a unit of elites. Oh, these guys look beautiful. The Spartan pikemen looking really nice indeed. As we go further back as well, we have reformed Spartan hoplites. Once again, amazing stuff right here. Really able to go toe-to-toe with most units in the game, frontally at least. And you never want to take a Spartan from the rear. That's going to be a rude awakening. Then we have some medium thorax Spartan swordsmen right here. Again, pretty aggressive with their weaponry, able to really get stuck in. More of the allied Thorios spear swordsmen as well, probably from other Greek city-states as well. We've got some more pikemen, so it's actually kind of a pretty nice setup. They've got 3 units of pikemen in the center, at least in this army, and then a bunch of swordsmen and hoplites supporting. Over on this side, we do have, again, more of the Spartan thorax hoplites, and then the cavalry over on this side. Oh, I like this as well. Bringing in a pikemen to support the cavalry. That's going to be pretty interesting. Then we have for the cavalry, we have a bunch of allied Furios cavalry as well. So utilizing the Greek city-states to their advantage. And here we go. The missile fight is already kicking off. We do have some allied archers, some Toxici missiles just firing. And again, not a super expensive missile unit. a unit that can output some decent damage, and their main focus point is going to be trying to take down a handful of these four-axe swordsmen kind of quickly, and that's going to force the Athenians to have to shift their line. It does seem like we have one player who's set up like on the main line. He's going to take probably the brunt of the Athenian assault here, like so. Then we've got an entire other player who's just basically just set his line up on the flank and going to try and kind of crush in and just overwhelm his opponent. Definitely think that's a bad idea. This unit is also taking a lot of missile fire right now, already losing 5 men from that, and that's going to kind of add up. As you guys know, most units have kind of like a shield on them, like an invisible halo shield, that the first couple volleys don't really do a lot of damage, but as the casualties start to rack up, as the volleys come in, they take more and more damage. So kind of the fewer men you have, the more damage you do take, which is pretty brutal. And right now, this is great for the Spartans. It does seem like the Spartans are going hard on this right flank, though. 4 units of skirmisher cavalry diving down here, scaring off the heavy shot cavalry. However, this is a pretty good chance for the Athenians. If the Spartans go much further, to just go ahead and catch and complete off guard, the javelins are going to come flying in onto the heavy shot cavalry. However, this cavalry isn't that much slower, and it is going to be able to tie down a few of these horsemen as they try and pull out. Luckily, the cavalry is a tiny bit faster, and now they're going to come in. However, the Spartans are quick to reinforce this position with pikemen, and that's going to be enough surely to scare off the Athenians. And again, this is just kind of showing the main ability of having 2 players on one side, is that you can out micro your opponent like this and really shift your line over. The Spartans have also went heavy on this side as well, committing a ton of soldiers to this really small point, as well as all the missile fire. They're trying to find these small positions where they can just smash through the Athenian line, and the Athenians are going to need to get their soldiers in position. And this is a really good example as well of quality versus quantity. You don't often see it or say it, but the Athenians have a very elite force, and the Spartans, though they have a lot of elite soldiers, they also have a lot of numbers as well. They have a lot of kind of lower tier infantry, and them numbers are proving very valuable, and I think it's something you have to do. And one of the reasons Divide Et Impera is such a great game is because numbers actually count for something, and you can completely demolish an elite army with enough numbers. You can break them down and break them, reduce their morale down to 0 and go off. And obviously also as well, because movement is a lot slower in these engagements, you know, it takes time to re-maneuver your forces to counter maybe faster moving cavalry and lighter infantry. As you can see, more of a Spartan army is now coming into vision right now as well. I think we've got a good idea of everything. We've got some more of these swordsmen over here. Again, these guys looking quite fast actually. Speed 3, which is pretty good for infantry. They are light melee infantry, and they're basically here just to abuse and go right through all the gaps in this formation. And under the pressure of the missile fire and the infantry being thrown against them, we are seeing our first break from the Athenians, and the Spartans are going to exploit this to no end, immediately running through this gap. And I think it's up to them to hold a line here, just kind of keep the reserves from coming in, and then utilize that by moving in here, moving in there, and like so as well, and really taking this battle to them indeed. We also have more of the infantry being tied down, and this is really important for both sides. Both sides really need to tie down these melee engagements so that they can utilize their cavalry, because whoever gets like cavalry engaged in these fights is going to be very good. Nice little charge here though by the light spears. This is one of the reasons why it's great having these light spears on the battlefield, is because they can go flying into flanks and you know, really take advantage of these slower moving heavier units like the pikemen, able just to get in here. And the thing is, the Athenians will win this cavalry fight if they can tie the enemy down, but they're just getting picked apart, and they're just getting kind of javelins thrown into the side. Really effective work here by the Spartans, and that's obviously going to be one of the main advantages. A lot of javelins going off here against the mercenary four-axe. However, the four-axe are going to be throwing back their javelins, and it's a bit of a Hail Mary right now. The four-axe are going to obviously be winning this engagement in a prolonged fight, but again, I think the Spartans are just looking to hold the Athenians back here and not really overcommitting too much to that, so that they can utilize this gap to their advantage, pile infantry through. It does also seem like they're going to be winning over here as well. The missile fire really coming in clutch. Yeah, I mean, this is Spartan 4-axe hoplite, so... And the missile support is really useful, actually. Generally, you don't want to do this because of friendly fire, but seemingly these missiles are pretty well orchestrated. So that's again going to give the Spartans the ability to continue to come around. And as you can see, they've done a good job of it right here, getting into the side of the enemy formation and breaking away more of their lines. So as you can see, if we take a look at the overall battlefield, the lines are drawn. The Athenians have a little bit of an advantage on this right-hand side, able to maybe get a unit or two around. Their pelters are doing some good work on this diagonal as well. The cavalry fight is kind of anyone's game, but it'll be interesting to see if people can wrap this one around. Again, with these pikemen going in onto the cavalry, it's pretty deadly. However, the Spartan horse has also been pinned down as well by a lot of hoplites, so we may try and pull out of this engagement, which I'm sure they inevitably will. They're going to lose a lot of horses. You generally do take some decent casualties when you try and retreat if the unit is embedded in the combat. But also, how beautiful is this unit of Athenians? Really, really amazing unit right here. Looking so goddamn clean, as the Athenians tend to do. Well, the Spartans able, and actually one of the Spartan generals now moving in, and again, as you can see, the Royal Spartan Guard has 300 men in. I mean, woo! That looks so goddamn good. The Spartans, truly a glorious, glorious faction indeed. The battle, though, continuing on as we are seeing more and more of the Spartans breaking through the gaps. That initial missile fire really coming in clutch. Like, honestly, these 3 units of archers have done the Lord's work here for the Spartans, breaking through that line. You can also see as well the Athenian general getting a really good side charge off, and this is the perfect unit. These light melee infantrymen only have 51 morale. That's not awful, but it's not good compared to the rest of the Spartans. So this is the type of unit you want to be hitting with your cavalry and trying to break them down, because you will tear them apart, especially as they are more and more engaged. However, the Spartans are flying their way over, really starting to put pressure on this left flank, and honestly, you're seeing routes across the board. I think the Spartans have this, though, just with numerical superiority, and that's going to be pretty scary on that left flank. However, over on the right flank, you are seeing the Athenians doing the opposite to them. They've managed to engage a landful of them, and because there isn't any cavalry support on this flank, because it's all on the other flank, you can see the Athenian quality really proving it. Look at this as well. The Spartans are fighting back to back, shoulder to shoulder, to the bitter end for the glorious city of Sparta. And unfortunately, I think their time is soon to be met. Their morale is dropping. The Spartans are glorious, and they will not break simply. And you do also see some Athenians. The Athenians are committing a bit more of their cavalry over on this side, really trying to win up this flank so they can re-support and supply the other left-hand side. The cavalry recommitting itself. Also a lot of the pelters as well, really trying to focus down this Spartan general, which I do not blame, because fighting him in combat is a scary, scary task, and I wouldn't want to have to do it. But I guess that's why nobody will remember my name. Shout out to people who get that reference off the cusp right there. Pretty fitting as well, as we do have 2 Greek states down here duking it out for the Peloponnese. More cavalry moving off in the distance, looking for anything they can utilize, and the Spartans have definitely cleaned up this right-hand side. Hardly any cavalry really remains, and they've still got a lot of skirmisher cavalry, bringing it over to obviously go and protect the back line. It does that the Athenians did commit quite a decent amount of their cavalry to this rear fight, just trying to kind of kill these missiles, which I do not think is a bad idea in the slightest, because my god, that is yeah, these archers have done an insane amount of work, and I really like the way the Spartan player had like combined the missiles with the infantry. You know, they focused all 3 units on one side, they attacked it with infantry, and using that combination really came in clutch. Oh wow, as well, these guys are shaken. Why is the morale so bad? They're getting charged off there by the Greek cavalry. But the nice thing is, this is one of the reasons I never try to have an engagement behind my main battle. Oh my god, the battle is a mess on this. Basically, main battle line here, I never try and push my cavalry past this line because it allows the Spartans to do what they're doing right now. It allows them to reinforce the cavalry fights with infantry, and that's going to tip the battle in your scale. I always try and draw the enemy cavalry behind my battle lines, unless I have like some overwhelming advantage. I tend to try and just force the enemy cavalry to me and then use my infantry to then support that. It's always the best way because obviously if you're fighting behind your battle line, you're going to be able to reinforce that far before your opponents are going to be able to do it. So there's a little bit of strategy right there that you guys might be able to utilize in your battles. I mean, look at that battle as well. I love it. Both two very elite units. You know they're elite as well because they have capes on. It's like a cape unit right at the top and then everything else below. You know the capes are going to, surely show the quality of the unit. Even though that's maybe not as historically accurate as they would like it to be, but it's a great way to just kind of show their quality. However, that soldier right there did not show quality as he had his head lobbed right off. So if we take a look at the overall battlefield, it is extremely messy. Basically, the Athenians won the left flank, the Spartans won the right flank, which we kind of expected from the way they set up, and now both sides are rushing over as fast as they can to reinforce them, and basically, the right-hand side needs to break through this and attack this, and vice versa. Does seem like a lot of this cavalry. If this cavalry breaks at 55 men, that's going to be really nice. Removing these horses this early on, or this kind of late on in the battle, is really, really crucial. And if either side can do it, then I'm sure they'll be very, very happy. But obviously, with that infantry being thrown in as well, it's going to be giving the Spartans a little bit of an advantage. And they've even got more spears set up here as well. However, the Athenian cavalry is moving around, trying to hit these routing units, stopping them from coming back. We also have a Spartan general as well. The very 300 Spartans down to 232 men. Enveloped here, but still fighting bravely on. Not going to be giving up lightly, and obviously it's the most you would expect from the Spartans to fight to a bitter end, or the least you would expect, I should say. And they're doing a very good job of that, keeping the enemy bay, and they are also holding up a lot of these Athenian units who would be very useful. That's biding the rest of the Spartans time to come flying around and catch a lot of these weaker units. These Peltists aren't awful in melee. Peltists are a very, very kind of good hybrid unit. But in a prolonged engagement against Spartans, they're not going to win this fight. So they do need to be very, very careful. And obviously, the faster they get men over here, the better. Because as you can see, the Spartans are using their numerical advantage here just to really take this one. Does seem like as well that the cavalry still isn't broken. It's flashing, but still alive. And yeah, if the Spartans are quick... Oh no, they broke just now. It would have been so useful if they would have that cavalry coming around and hitting into these units. Cleaning up this flank because... if the Spartans can hold, it seems like they are really struggling now. This Spartan general is getting massacred right now. That's very unfortunate. However, the Spartans do have enough time to really form up, and this cavalry has come back from routing as well, or at least having a decent amount of it has. So, yeah, again, okay, cool. This is really unfortunate. I think the Spartans are going to be struggling now. Apparently, they want me to zoom in here, as the Spartans are fighting hard. I think this is bad for the Spartans now, because that is so many Athenian units able to come in right now. And I think the Spartans are literally sending in a unit like this just to maybe try and hold this up. Because if the Spartans can clean up victory here, they're going to be in a good situation. But if they just sit around, I think it's going to be very, very difficult indeed. There are just so many Athenian units ready to come clashing in. And even all the micromanagement in the world is going to be a difficult, difficult fight. We have a unit of cavalry getting ready to charge this unit of Spartans in the back. It's setting itself up very nicely to come flying in. And yeah, obviously we're going to be getting a big reinforcement here. There's so many units able to come in. But Van's power is still super even, so I guess it's just the quality from the Athenians that's going to come in clutch. Luckily, the Spartans do reinforce this fight. However, the cavalry is coming. And as you can see, boom, right into their backs there. That's going to be pretty big for the morale front. However, the Athenians themselves are finding themselves enveloped. It's going to be pretty painful as the fighting breaks out. And obviously, hitting a unit in the back is going to be doing a ton more damage than from the front, especially with all these heavily armored units. You can see that morale starting to drop, more Athenians starting to turn up, and yeah, you can see the Athenian line. However, look at the morale on a lot of these units. Like, that is not great. That could definitely come back to break them. And as you can see, the Spartans, their quality showing its honor and its glory right there. A bunch of these Athenian units starting to break, and again, as the units just get exhausted, you can see basically all these units, all the units that are close to breaking are exhausted. They're very tired. They have nothing really left whatsoever. And you can see them just, you know, every last breath throwing themselves at the enemy shield wall. So maybe even resting some of your infantry would not be a bad idea at this point. Like, just kind of reforming the line and holding back, because, again, a lot of these units are tired. There is also 3 units of cavalry left, and the Athenians have a unit there, and I believe a unit over here. So you don't even flank. The Spartans still have that cavalry advantage. But again, the quality is definitely going to be on the Athenian side of things, as Athens kind of go a bit passive. They're actually resting their infantry, which I honestly don't think is a bad idea. Getting your men back to fresh whilst the Spartans continue to fight is fine, especially when you have the numerical advantage. Like the Athenians do, they do have more units, just maybe their quality isn't quite there. The pikemen able to really get stuck in. These are obviously the units that the Athenians want to hit in the back with their cavalry, if they can find the advantage and get the soldiers in there. So a little bit of a breather, probably just bringing, but yeah, a lot of these infantrymen have gone from very tired to winded, which again doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a big difference. It's basically an extra 20% strength on their unit, which is very, very valuable. We also have the cavalry getting ready just to move right around this flank and dive in to the enemy line. And if that cavalry can get around as soon as this infantry commits itself to the fight, that's going to see a lot of these units breaking morale-wise. And I mean, honestly, the Athenians just need to use their numbers efficiently. The Spartans have broken the back line, and this cavalry is still forming up, so maybe there's a chance. I don't know. This battle is really close right now, and it's going to come down to who's going to break first. Luckily, the Athenians do manage to get a nice little side flank here onto the Spartan hoplites, who are really nowhere else to run. They're kind of literally stuck between a rock and a hard place. Nowhere for them to go. And as you can see, the cavalry for the Athenians going, and I imagine the Spartan cavalry will be doing exactly the same on the other side of the battlefield, or if not, going down here. All the cavalry coming down. And if the Spartans can just kind of take care of this cavalry, they definitely stand a good chance of winning. Also, look at the morale here as well. The Spartan quality just really showing its strength. And these pikes able to actually get stuck in very effectively. Down up to 80 kills. Pikes generally don't get a lot of kills in multiplayer battles because people avoid fighting them unless they have to, which obviously the Athenians do have to at this point. So a lot of the time you kind of get in a situation where pikes are more of just a zoning unit. So when they do end up getting a lot of kills, it's actually really, really nice and impressive. The Athenians committing some more of their men, but the Spartans are out for blood on this right flank, able to get soldiers around that flank, and there's no real reinforcements. The majority of the reinforcements over on this side, as the enemy cavalry do go ahead and commit themselves quite quickly. I think the Athenians need a clean victory on this flank. Especially with more infantry coming in, they need to try and silence this cavalry so they can have full dominance of the battle. I mean, it's not like the Athenians don't have men in reserve as well. They're just kind of backing up from this pikes, and this is kind of one of the things I'm saying. Like, again, generally a lot of the time, this will just happen constantly. They'll just back up from the pikes until the pikes get out of position and then envelop them. But there are definitely situations where you can't do that, where your unit's already pre-engaged, and that's when it's very effective to bring in the pikes. The Athenians able just to throw themselves in here, but this flank is going to go the 300-man Spartan general. Look at this, is a true heir of Leonidas right here. They've lost 1 soldier, they're down to 299, and they've got 150 kills. A true leader of Leonidas as they go in once again against the Athenian line. Able to get, I'm assuming, a bunch more kills. That's awesome to see. The Athenian general though moving around, looking for any rear charge he can, probably on these units, but that right flank is going to break. However, I assume it's only a matter of time until the left flank breaks for the Spartans. Units dropping down, and they're about to obviously utilize this gap to come flying through. However, the Spartans are throwing in infantry. Again, these guys are tired by the looks of it. They're light infantry. Going up against heavy phalanxes is going to be a hard task indeed, but a task they have been committed to do by their commander. And I truly, truly wish them luck on that endeavor, because I would not like to be in their shoes. The rest of the Spartan line is looking pretty dim right now. The cavalry pulled itself out, probably looking to come charging in again. And that's exactly what they're going to do with more pelters and cavalry. A mass rout here would be catastrophic for the Spartans. However, over on the other side, you can see them doing good. But general unit still has not lost another man. The Spartans are truly proving their worth this day. But he might end up being the only soldier left if they're not careful. More of the units go flying in again, breaking that unit on the side. And there are now only 2 units of cavalry left remaining. A nice little charge here would definitely see off what remains of this unit, allowing them to come flying around this unit of hoplites. And this unit of hoplites actually falling back right now. Probably seeing that that's going to happen. The Peltists immediately moving in. We also have a unit of Athenians somehow surrounded around as the Spartans once again form their self up. And even after cavalry charge from the Athenian general, it seems like the Spartans are hell-bent on breaking this unit. You can see that cavalry really committing itself to the fight, throwing everything they've got at the enemy. And that's obviously proving very valuable. They're just not quite there yet. We need like a little tip in their favor. Yeah, that right flank is looking very scary for them. But again, so is the left flank. It's kind of like they're trading. They've been trading flanks all battle, and this one is no different. And they really need to try and break this cavalry as well. They need this cavalry fight to be completely won if the Athenians hope to win. Luckily as well, we are going to get a nice envelopment onto this on this pike unit. And that's going to definitely see that pike unit off. They're not really going to stand too much. If we take a look at the overall battlefield, you can see that the Spartans, yeah, winning that flank very, very efficiently. Just chasing down any of the other men that they can. The Spartan general, he's just 4 men now, but he's racked up about 60 kills right now. That is not bad whatsoever. Literally 222 kills to 4. That's not a bad KDA. It's like a 60-man KDA right now. Not bad. And I'm sure there's plenty more where that came from, unless they get enveloped, and then they'll obviously be struggling quite a lot. And yeah, look at that. Loads of men now bounding their way through. If we just double speed it really quickly, you can see a lot more men coming around this flank. The Spartans are breaking. And now they're going to have to reform. However, with the extra cavalry turning up as well, that's going to be pretty bad. Balance of power is slightly in favor of the Athenians, and another cavalry charge comes in from the Athenian general. And it's actually a devastating one as well. This unit is very tired, so it's only fighting at 60% of its strength. Its morale has dropped, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that unit going down. Spartan general, though, in here looking for blood once again. The units have formed up as they kind of get ready to make their last stand. They really need a clean victory over here. Oh, this is not a nice move as well. Bringing over the cavalry to try and snipe the enemy general. Not a bad move. And they got the charge off. Luckily, this unit is a Hypasus unit, so it's fairly tanky. But if they could kill the enemy general, that'd be pretty big, actually. That'd be a big morale shock. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to do that. Their morale is far too low. And even though they got the beautiful charge off, they're just not equipped to deal with this. They're exhausted. The morale is low. Not going to see that. However, the Spartan general has once again claimed several enemy units. And they're going to be able to... Oh my god, this unit of Spartan 4X swordsmen is on 385 kills. My god. That's not bad whatsoever. As more units come in, I assume only these units of pelters are basically just thrown in here to try their best to slow up and pin down these units whilst the rest of the fight does go off. Does seem like the rest of the units though are forming up as more and more soldiers are thrown against these pikes, and it is looking pretty good for the Athenians right now. Besides the immortal Spartan general, it doesn't really seem like there is too much left in the way of infantry. Especially once this cavalry breaks as well. The Spartans don't have too much. The left flank has been completely cleaned up, just slaughtering the pikemen that remain there. And yeah, you can already see the envelopment coming up. I mean, it's not going to be easy, though, to break this Spartan general who almost has 300 kills. He's got more kills than he has men in the unit. That is insane. This Spartan general unit is absolutely insane. I mean, it's expected for like a cavalry unit to do this much damage, but for an infantry unit, you don't get to see that too often, and they've really done work. And I mean, again, the Spartans still aren't going to be slaughtered, you know, like they're going to hold their own to the bitter last, and that's definitely not something we're going to be too surprised at seeing, honestly. I assume they're going to fight in a box formation, basically, you know, not like a noob box, but basically try their best to hold it, which honestly I wouldn't be surprised at, as they are getting hit pretty hard. There's not really anywhere for them to go right now as the Athenians circle like vultures around the dead. And as you can see, look at this battle as well. Always love doing this. Just looking at the sheer bodies, you can really tell where the main engagements were as the Athenians circle around them. And the nice thing is for the Athenians, they basically have their entire center intact still. The Spartans though are getting their breath back in this fight, whilst the Athenians are re-maneuvering. The Spartans are getting up to fresh on the vigor bar, which is not bad. And here we go, the engagement kicking off now as they are just utilizing these gaps. I assume a Spartan player didn't want to truly noob box, so he's kind of losing the battle on purpose at this point, even though I think they had the battle anyway. They're like noob boxing, but to prevent the cavalry from doing anything, but they're still giving opportunities for the enemy units to come in, which definitely got to respect that. Yeah, they are definitely positions. The Spartans are even flanking. I guess this is really their only hope, is to try and get a lucky break on one of these units to free up men. Because right now, I guess there is no way they win, so maybe they can break these guys and then claim victory. However, loads of soldiers now going to come flying in here and finish off the Spartans. You can also see as well how the Athenian player is purposely avoiding fighting this general unit as well, as best as he can. And yeah, the day is over. The cavalry is moving around, and the Spartans fought bravely. They will unfortunately find their death here. And I imagine with only 2 minutes left of the battle, that everything's going to break before this Spartan general unit does die, because I can't imagine that's going to go down. A nice cavalry charge there into the rear of the pikemen. And I can only assume that the Spartans are going to hold. They pop a rally, the true son of Leonidas rallying them together. But yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it's not going to be enough. I can only imagine with only a minute left that everything's going to break. And unfortunately, the Spartan general is not going to get the true ending that he would desire. But my God, has he done an impressive job this day. Really, really holding firm. It's a shame that like the general units can't just pop like an ability that means that they can't break, you know, for like a set period of time. That'd be quite cool if it's like a final stand like in Shogun 2. But as you can see, everyone coming around. I mean, maybe it's just literally going to be this general unit left. And yeah, he's on 300 kills now. Awesome stuff, but going to be enveloped. He's already kind of tired as well, so that's going to be him. But massive GG to both players. Really good showing right there. And as soon as this unit, I think, yeah, he's just going to go. He's the last man standing, but unfortunately, breaking right there. Costly victory for the Athenians, and GG as well. The Spartans played very, very well, and so did the Athenians. And look at some of the kills on these units, especially for the Spartans as well. Obviously, that general unit with 309 kills, still extremely healthy, impressive stuff. And a lot of these 4-axe swordsmen, 300 kills on them. The Peltis doing good as well. Not too shabby at all. So if you guys, again, do not remember the beginning of the video, make sure you join the Colosseum Discord for the big old DEI tournament that's happening this weekend. It's kicking off, so make sure you check that out. And I'll see you guys in the next one.